Hi everyone, good morning. This is Scott Fiaschetti at Geopath, and I'm here with Brian Schopper, as always, from Geopath. Good morning, everyone. Just want to say thank you to everyone for joining today's out-of-home office hours, which is going to be an update, one of our October update of the changes going on with the Geopath Insight Suite. Just a few things. I know some of you, just looking at the list, have been on these calls before, so you probably know the routine, but there are a number of you who are new and maybe new to even logging into the Geopath Insight Suite. So a couple housekeeping things. What we're going to do today is I'll go over the Insight Suite overall, talk to you about some of the specific updates since the September release, and actually go into the tool and demonstrate some of these new features, as well as give an overview of the entire Insight Suite as well. As always, I want to show you where you can find support and provide feedback, because the feedback is key for us as we're in the development stage of the Insight Suite, because it is still in a beta form. And I want to just remind everyone, so we are on what's called an agile release schedule. So what that really means is that every couple of weeks we are releasing a new version of the tool. So it has some increased functionality. And a lot of times you'll see, for example, with the Places module, we put it out there in a beta format and we just continually iterate and improve on it. And that's why your feedback is so important. So when you are using the tool, if you run into issues, find bugs, please let us know, because it really does help us improve the tool. Or if you have a great idea for, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if the tool could do this or that, definitely let us know, because as I said, it does help us. I also want to make sure always on these calls that I let everybody know or remind everybody that the impression data in the tool is for non-commercial use during this beta phase. So if you're still needing to, if you need to pull impression data, continue to use the sort of resources that you use today. So whether it's ADS or Telmar or whatever way you're getting impression data, continue to use that until the tool becomes the currency of the industry, which we do expect to be happening in the new year once our board approves. So keep that on your radar. The other thing I do want to say is, I always demonstrate on desktop, but you can use this tool either on an iPad, a tablet, or even on your phone, on your smartphone. So I was actually just playing around with it on my iPhone just before I jumped on this call. So just wanted to let you know that, so you can use it in a variety of different formats. So for those of you who are kind of, like I said, new to these calls and maybe new to the Insight Suite, just want to let you know some of what you're going to see and what the tool is all about. So you will see here the screenshot, and you'll see on the back end of this, we have a unified inventory audited database that's going to be powering that, which creates more efficiencies on the back end for the tool and how it runs. The map that you see is very interactive. You can zoom in to city, street level, or get really granular, really specific in where you want to look. And again, obviously, be able to filter inventory by a variety of factors, operator locations, et cetera, media type, and you'll see all that in the tool as we move forward. Some of the way in the future, some of the way you'll be accessing that will be changing, but that will be in a future iteration, and I'll tell you about that when we get to it. The other key thing is that we do have an audience-first approach to it, so that is the lead thing when you're starting your kind of journey of starting to explore or plan, look at the different inventory or look at the market, or you can also look at audience first. And that was key as we were developing the tool, because we do recognize that people and the industry wants to tell stories about their audience more so these days than even just talking about a piece of inventory. It's just a combination of things. So the tool can allow for that. And it was even, in fact, built that way. Every location that we have in our database, and again, for right now, this is roadside with fleet / transit coming in the near future, again, targeted to be in there by the beginning of the new year as well. So every location's mapped, and as you'll see as I click through, there'll be more information on every piece of inventory, what are other targets that this piece of this unit is good for targeting, where is it drawing its audience from, what are some of the target metrics based on this audience. So again, there's a host of information that's available with each piece, with each unit. One thing I neglected to say in my introduction, please, if you do have any questions, always reach out to us on this questions widget in the GoToWebinar interface here. Brian's here and constantly checking that, and we'll pause and try to answer your questions in real time, so there's kind of the relevance of when you asked it, so we don't have to think back in time to when it was asked. But definitely ask us any questions as we go along. Happy to answer any of them that we can. So here's some of the things that you'll see in this new release. And this new release, I think the way to think about this most recent release is this was setting us up for some major functionality improvements or additions is probably a better way to say it. So there's a lot of user interface, that's what the UI means, a lot of user interface changes that are putting us in the position to kind of iterate and add more functionality. So right here in the coming release, you will start to be able to look at package level reach and frequency. But this release right today gives you the interface where that is going to be housed. So you can see right now, you'll be seeing the summary level impressions for every scenario that you're creating in Workspace. And Workspace is the module where you can start to create projects for clients and start to create those scenarios underneath, or aka different campaigns, or however you want to look at it. And so you're able to look at the summary level impressions for your scenario, and you can add them in multiple ways. So today you don't even have to go to the Explore module anymore to just plan and explore. You can actually start to do that from the Workspace, and that functionality will continue to increase. So today there is the kind of housing for package level reach, frequency, target impressions, but you'll see when we get in there, they're not showing up. And again, like I said, they will be soon. You can also analyze inventory within a scenario. So as you call up in Workspace, call up all of the inventory, you can actually use this if you receive a list of avails from a media company, or if you are at the media company and looking at the avails that you want to make recommendation on, you can actually kind of copy and paste that list in and start to work on it that way as well. So there has that ability to do that also in the Workspace area. And again, like I said, I'll give a quick overview of the Workspace area, but if you want to learn even more, we did a webinar, I believe it was the July webinar, update, where we actually kind of went into the Workspace and built projects, etc. So you can go back, and I'll show you where you can look at all of our historical webinars and get all that information as well before we leave the call. Another kind of user interface change is the home button. That always existed, but it is now providing a little bit more information. So it gives you a sense of what each module it has, what the capabilities are of it right now. And also eventually this will morph into an area where we can kind of message everyone and let everybody know what's going on. So right now you can see it's saying audience first out of home. Great, but in the future, this could be a place where you always come when you enter the tool to understand what's been updated, or here's a key factoid, or here's a, here's a, a nice best practice, hack or things like that you can find. So those are some of the changes. You want to go in and look at the tool. Brian, just pausing. Any questions from anybody?
No, nothing yet.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to jump into the tool, and like I said, as always, feel free to ask any questions as we go along. So right here, this is our homepage of our website. I always want to make sure everybody knows how to get to the Insight Suite. Right here is our homepage, and you could get to it by just clicking this button right here that says Insight Suite Beta Explore Now. You can click there and go to it, or you can always go to any of our tools by the Tools tab right here and click on Geopath Insight Suite Beta. So I'm going to do that, boom, and it will open up the Insight Suite. I've already logged in here. And when you're logged in, you're dropped off in the Explore module, and you can see along here the different modules that we do have. So let me start. And another thing that's a new feature is this pops out. So if you want to really see what they're actually called versus the iconography, you can do that. So let me go to the home page. So as I said, you can see here, this will be the kind of main area for messaging eventually, and then you could look at the workspace as well as the Explore, gives you a little bit of an overview, and you can see places. And as we said, you know, places is still, it's out there and it's functioning, and we're continually to iterate on the functionality there. And then coming soon our reports. We know that's a key and an important thing that everybody's looking for as well. So that was one of the key changes. But let me go back to Explore and let's talk about you know, how to use the tool and what are, and talk about some of the new functionality that's available. So as we said, you know, we're leading with audience. It's an audience-first approach. And right now there's about 600 plus different audiences in here, and we're adding more and more each iteration of the tool. I believe the next set that are going to come out are related to media, so things like listening to radio and types of radio, you know, stations listen to in terms of categories like country, et cetera, TV viewing, and so it's all around media consumption. So you'll see those coming out, I believe, in the next release, which is coming, I believe, next week. Typically, the releases happen on Tuesdays, on Tuesday evenings, and so if you want to continually check in on a Wednesday, you can see what's new, and it's typically every other Tuesday. So going back to the audiences, so you can look at and see here there's a different category. So population, which tend to be your more demographic types, your Prism Premier. So our demographic partner is Claritas. And they have their own proprietary segmentation product, and they have 68 different segments here that you can use and filter by or use to target audience. I'll show you where you can get a good definition of what these are. I totally get like upper crust. They may not mean anything. It may not be super relevant. We do try to provide a little bit of explanation here, but there is a deeper explanation. I'll show you again where to find that. And then here's our consumer profile. So those are your more behavioral types of things. Right now there's a handful of categories. So auto, and I believe there's over 200 different auto-specific attributes. There's restaurants as well, which if you've been on any of these, you'll know I tend to focus on the restaurants. I'm just not a car person, so forgive me for that. And then vote, so politics, so, you know, Democrat, Republican, did you vote in the last local election, did you not, do you typically, et cetera. So there's a host of ones there. So I'll show you how to pick an audience. Let me do one thing here first. So just want to show you the different subcategories. So, you know, there's things as specific as types of commuting. What's the mode you use to get to work? Do you take the ferry? Do you walk to work? Do you bike to work? What languages are spoken in the home? And a lot of household profiles. So presence of children in the home. Do you own your home? How much is it worth? Marital status, income level, mortgage size, et cetera. And then a variety of demographic categories. And one of the new things that came out last time is this ability to, you know, starting to be able to cross-tab on various audiences and then be able to save those. So I'm going to pick Speak Spanish in the Home, and you can see right here it's showing you which other attributes I can cross-tab it with. So right now it's, and this will continually, we'll be continually iterating on this, and there'll be more and more ability to cross-tab. But so for right now, for example, I can now look at people who speak Spanish in the home for people, all persons age 5+. Then I could save this as an audience, and you could customize it. So this is speak Spanish. Oops, if I can spell. In home, age 5+, and then save it. Boom. Great, success. Okay, and then I can look at my saved audiences. So speak Spanish, age 5+, and you can see I've saved a couple other ones as well here. So let me clear that though. Boom. Cool. So I'll come back to the audience in a second. as we start to go through an actual workflow. But then here you can pick any audience, market, and so this is at the DMA level. So what you're doing here on this side, you're looking at your who and your where. And then as you look at the panel filters, that's starting to get your what. So you can look at it by media type. So they're all there, all the different website media that we audit, nested underneath. So built-in, if you just want to look at digital, if you want to look at static, and everything, every other type of inventory we audit, as well as the number of units in our system here. And then all of our operators, and then here is where you start to narrow in geographically, whether it's you want to create a radius around an area, you want to just draw your own polygon, you can do that, or I'll show you here, you can also bring in your own, you can also set up a place set and bring that in and do a radius around each individual point of interest that you've brought into the area, into the Explore module. So we'll go through all that in a little bit. And also you can bring in your own sets of panel IDs or plant, you can either do it by the Geopath panel ID or the plant unit ID. You can copy and paste them in from Excel, from a Word document, from a text file, from an email. The tool is really smart enough and really capable enough to kind of translate that, and I'll do an example of that as well. And then also recently, I believe in the last iteration, is the reset all button. So as you make the plan, you can easily just click reset and go back to the kind of starting point here. And then here is our places module, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I want to, and then here on the right side is everything on that starts to show you the tracking of what you're filtering and how many units, as well as how many impressions that's generating. So right now we're looking at 52 billion target impressions for a total population of 0+. And that's important to know. Total population 0+ is our base level audience that we use to calculate our metrics on. So 52 billion target impressions, which is 52 billion 0+ impressions, obviously because we haven't picked a target yet. We're still at 100%. And you can look at this visually or as a table, which I'll show in a moment as well. So as I'm starting to think about how to use the tool and how to kind of get the most value out of it, as I said before, obviously the impression data is not for commercial use, but you can still use the tool to help you understand market, help you understand which inventory is going to reach an audience that's in the tool. So there are ways to use this today to create value for yourself and for your clients as well. And that's one key way to do that, is to use it to help kind of filter and sort your inventory based on markets and audiences. So one thing I always like to do if I'm thinking about an audience, and today I want to look at an audience. I was actually just traveling. I was in Michigan, and everybody talked about this local chain called Olga's Kitchen. So I want to, it's like kind of a family sit-down restaurant, and I want to use that as our example here. So let's say the kitchen wants to target, they want to conquest Cracker Barrel customers. So we want to, let's look at Cracker Barrel. So you can see here, I'm just starting to type in Cracker Barrel, and you can see all the different types. So if I want people that have been to Cracker Barrel for breakfast, or report going there for breakfast, dinner, lunch, or just in the past 30 days. So I want to apply that. First I want to save that as an audience, because I think that's something that's going to be important. So Cracker Barrel, I'm going to call it Cracker Barrel, past 30 days. Oops. I'm going to save that audience. Okay, great. So I have that for later. But I do want to apply it now to my Explorer. So you can see on the right side, everything changed. 3.7 billion impressions for people compared to the 52 billion. So that's about a 7.1 target impression composition here. And you can see here right now the audience has changed. So 6,000 restaurants past 30 days, Cracker Barrel. So now that I have that number in my head, that 7.1%, I just kind of use this as a best practice. You don't have to start this way, but it's nice to, as you start to dig into a market, you can start to see how that market compares to that audience. One other thing before I choose my market, if you're looking if you're just looking and want to understand, where does a particular operator have inventory across the market, across the country, obviously, you can just actually use the tool to do that. I mean, I'll click here. I guess Lamar's coming up here. So you can start to see that, where that is, and then start to understand, okay, well, maybe I want to go to Washington or Minnesota, et cetera. So that's a nice way if you're trying to explore an operator, or even another way to use it is to just pick the market, and then you could explore the operators in that market. So this is a way to use the Insight Suite similar to our Inventory Explorer that's available on our website as well. So as I mentioned, I was in Michigan recently. So I want to just go to the Detroit DMA. I'm going to go there. So there's 315 different units that we audit in that area. And again, this is for all operators. And as I go back, you can see the different operators that do have inventory in that market. And I'm going to start to zoom in. I'm going to keep it looking at everybody, but I want to start to zoom in. And you can do two ways. You can just scroll in with using your mouse, or you can hit the +- key and just keep zooming in as you go in, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm hitting the plus button, and you'll start to see that the view will start to change. And as it comes into focus, you'll see these Skittles, so to speak, like I always call them. So you're like, well, what do these colors mean? Well, there's a key right here, and you could always use that. So bulletins are orange, posters are goldenrod color, walls and murals are this purpley color, and then street furniture, which isn't showing up here because it must not be any that we audit in that area, is typically turquoise. So great, I know what my colors are, and if you ever forget that, you can go to the feedback button, and then I'll show you where you can get more information on that. But as you go in a little bit deeper, you'll see the iconography change one more time. And when it does, it'll start to show directionality and number of facings. So you can start to see here, like this one right here, where my cursor's over, has a north-south, so two facings, one facing north, one facing south. You'll see some of them that have a black circle around it. That indicates that it's a digital unit. And let's say, well, geez, this looks pretty, there's a lot going on here. Let's just look at posters right now. I just want to look at posters. I want to clean it up a little bit. So you can see it's all, I've filtered out now for just looking at posters right here. Great. And so let me zoom back out a little bit. Okay. So as we start to go along, I want to see, you can start to see here. So right now, I filtered out, just like, let me add in some bulletins here. All right, so I've added in bulletins and posters. They may eventually clear those up. But right here, you're looking at 34 million target impressions across the market in Detroit, DMA, for family sit-down restaurants, total of just under 500 million total impressions. So we're actually tracking just slightly below that 7.1%. So that's helpful. Maybe we want to go in and start to find areas that have a little bit more of the cracker people that say they've been to a Cracker Barrel in the past 30 days. But right now I'm looking at 3,286 of the 44,000 plus pieces of inventory. And you can also start to filter by total impressions, target impressions, in-market target impressions. So again, a variety of different ways to filter and format by target ratings, by target frequency. So all that stuff is either you have the ability to sort on, or will soon be able to have that ability to sort on as well. And let's say, you know what, I just want to look at a specific area of the Detroit DMA. So I'm going to click this radius. I want to select area and click radius, and you see I have these crosshairs. So let's say I just want to be, just want to look at like a 6 mile radius. So I click that, and you'll see where the tool will start to just focus on that area that we created. So now we're looking at a radius around the Detroit DMA, and so we got 7.2 million impressions. Now we know, okay, well maybe that's not the best area to focus on because we've even gotten fewer, so it's 5.5% of the target impressions, for the composition. Let me clear that anyway. For now, I'm gonna clear it. I just wanted to show you that piece of functionality as well. And let's see. So let's explore some units. I'm gonna click off the bulletins for now. I may add them back in a bit, but I want to show you, let's say I'm looking at all, so I've filtered down even a little bit more, about 1,400 pieces of inventory. So I just care about, maybe because of Olga's kitchen is fairly local, I just care about in-market target impressions. I don't care as much about the people driving on the highways, and so I kind of want people just that are in the market. So I've filtered by that, and now I've kind of sorted. You can see the right side here has also changed the order. And as you scroll through over them, as you scroll over each one, you can see where those units are in the market. So I'm on the third one down here. So let me see. Let's look at a particular unit. So I click Map View, and it's showing me what that unit's all about. So weekly impressions, it's a poster. This is where it is. These are its units. And if I want to find out a little bit more information, I just click there, and it flips over, kind of the back of the trading cards. I think of like kind of the baseball trading cards. It's got all the relevant information. So inventory at a glance, opportunity overview. So this is what I was saying before. This shows you what are some other attributes that this inventory this unit is good at reaching. So audiences. So speaking Spanish in the home, so over-indexes pretty well for that, as well as some other kind of Hispanic-related attributes. So just ethnicity, people of a certain age, etc. But the other thing I find very interesting as well here is that the zip code tells you where audience is coming from. So 21% of this unit's audience is coming from this zip code, 48180, as well as about 10, another good chunk, 10% coming from that, from 48146. So about almost a third, about 30% of its audience is coming from two different zip codes. And a lot of times you'll see these, obviously these change, and a lot of times you'll see that the zip codes that are drawing a lot of audience aren't necessarily where that unit is located, which helps us tell that story of movement that we've always been wanting to tell in out-of-home, that even though this unit is located in this zip code, it's actually drawing audience from, 80% of its audience is coming from other zip codes. And you start to see here weekly audience summary, so all of your basic metrics, so across market population, impressions, in-market impressions, percentage rather, and then impressions. Again, apologies, this is still a beta tool, so at times you'll see sometimes where not all the information is showing up. Again, there's probably a reason for that in terms of on the back end, we're still calibrating and double checking all of the data. And again, that's why some of the, we're not, again, that's why it's still for not commercial purposes yet. And so as everything gets up and running, and if you ever have questions on like what's any of this information mean, you just click that I button and the card flips over, and you can understand, how are we getting to our calculations? How are we getting reach? What's the calculations for weekly impressions, etc. So it's all defined in here for you. And you can export this as a PDF, and you'll have everything, the definitions as well as the front of the card. And if you need to go back, you just click there as well. So I want to show you, I'll just click another one just for comparison purposes, so you can see. I take this one, again, it happens to be another out front piece of inventory. It was just the second one that was in the list. You can see here how different, just being in a different area, different opportunity segments, as well as different combination of where zip codes are coming from. Oh, and I also neglected to mention this. It also talks about we're also across different market areas, DMAs, it's drawing audience from. So this one's pretty heavily in the Detroit DMA, so that's where it's drawing most of its audience from. And again, all the info below as well. Yes.
This is actually a really great question. Is there a way to pull a list of the units that have a minimum index against a target audience, so units that don't perform against an audience? I mean, you could do it the same way over or under, but basically asking about a list view.
Yeah, so great. That's a great segue. So right now we're looking at a visual view of it. So if I click this up arrow here, I can now look at a tabular view of all the inventory up there, or the top inventory. So here we're looking at it, and you could start to look at target audience by index. So let's say you want the lowest, so right now I've sorted so it's looking at the highest, but I can flip that and start to look at the lowest. So these are the kind of under-indexing units for reaching that audience. So that's one way, I think, to back into it as well. Another way I believe we can do it, let's see together if it'll work, what I'm thinking, is that you can also, so sorry, let me just go back to this list again. You can export this list right here as a CSV, right? You can download that. Another way to ultimately do it, if you don't want to do it within the tool, you can actually go to let me close out, and you could do the same thing here. So I have my 1,400 panels here. You can save this as a scenario, but if you like it, it's like save it as an inventory set. So this is my total, this is my, what do we say, this is Cracker Barrel, and it's for Detroit. And then this is like, this is like posters, all posters, I guess. Right, so I can save this, and then I could use that and go back to it eventually if I want to. I'm saving it. Okay, great, saved it, and it will be available right here. So load save inventory sets. So if I want to search that, so what is it, Cracker Barrel? So it's right there right now. So I can call that back up if I wanted to. But you can also export this entire list as a CSV. So right there, it's there. And I'm going to open up that file. And you can see all the same information is here as well. So you can actually do the same thing I did in the tool, but you can start to sort it here as well. So you can do that two different ways. And let me do this one thing really quick. Since I'm here, let's say I just care about these handful of units. So I'm going to just highlight them and, oops, sorry, I'm going to copy them, Control-C. And all right, great. I just want to focus on this set of Geopath panel IDs and apply. Boom. And there you go. There are those 11 units that I highlighted, and those are going to be, maybe those are the ones that I really am interested in, and I can save that as a set as well. So that's another way to kind of use the tool. And if you have certain lists that you're working in, or if you even have a past campaign that you want to drop in and look at and see how it might have performed against a particular target or things like that, there's another way to start to use the tool today to get some value out of it. So let me clear that out for a second. And I want to show you how to use the places area. So places, as I said, it's a beta tool. So we're continually iterating on this. So I'm going to zoom into the Detroit area, DMA. Whoa, sorry. So sometimes I get a little too, let me zoom out again. I get a little too trigger happy with my mouse here. Okay, cool. So here's Detroit. And you can do a couple things. You can look categorically at different categories for places, or you can call them specifically. So I wanted to focus on Olga's Kitchen. I actually didn't get to go to Olga's Kitchen when I was there, but everybody who I met with was like really speaking highly of it. So cool. A couple of people did at least. So here's a list of 10, right? And I can make this a set if I want to, save as a place set, similar to the way I did as the inventory set. And you can continually add to this if you want to look at all of them. You know, if there are more, like let's say you're looking at McDonald's, it's always going to push the first 10, and then you could zoom in or look at a different area of the map. So let's say this is, let me save this as a place set. So the Kitchen, Michigan, right? Great place set. So I have 10 here. Okay, great. But let's say I want to look at all across Michigan, because I know it's kind of a Midwest chain, a regional chain. I'm going to clear everything. Sorry, I'm going to clear it again. Boom. And then I'm going to look at a different area, and then I'm going to call up Olga's Kitchen again. So this is one way to do it. If you need to create a bigger set than it's capable of right now. Again, we realize functionality-wise, you're going to want to put in McDonald's or whatever and just see all of them at once. So we are working towards that functionality. But there's a nice, easy way to actually just do that. And you could again add. Let's say I want to add that. So I added 2 more. So I want to add to another place set. So I want to find my all Olga's Kitchen in Michigan. Boom. I want to add these there. Great. So I've now added those to them as well. Or if you want to just look at an area, let me clear out Olga's Kitchen here. Let me clear, boom. So let's say I've already created a set. And obviously I've done that already. So maybe there's only 3 stores that I want to look at, and I want to apply those. So I want to look at those 3. So maybe I just you know, one franchisee owner has 3 of them and wants help with advertising theirs. So I have these 3. I'm going to go back to the Explore module and just show you how you can import those to here and then just start to look at the inventory that's located in a certain radius around there. We can pick the radius, the different area you want to look at. Okay. Okay, so we're back in Detroit, and we're looking. We still have all of our posters there. So I'm going to call up. So I look here, filter by place, set, and radius. So I want to call in my Olga's Kitchen. So I want just those top 3 that I'm focusing on. Apply. I'm going to select it. So I didn't pick a radius, so it just auto picked, 1 mile. So I'm going to go back and be like, okay, I want to make it say 10 miles. I want to do a 10-mile radius around each of them. And so we'll start to look at the inventory in there. And you'll see it filters out anything outside that become gray. So maybe 10 miles was maybe, I don't know if it was too big or not, but at least we are getting a bunch of posters here, some here. You know what, maybe we need to add in some bulletins because maybe there's not enough. So let's do that. Let me add in a few bulletins. Let's see where they are. Okay, great. So maybe that looks a little bit better. There's more coverage for this one up here right now. So then again, we can save this if we want to. We can start to save this as an inventory set because this is good. We're getting enough coverage here. So this is for Olga's Kitchen, Detroit. Let's see, top 3. keep that like that. And then, so this is bulletin and posters. Okay, so I like that. I like that set. Great. Keep it for, okay, great. So last thing I want to show you, let me clear that for now. Oh, you know what? As the other thing you can do is, I know I've showed you how to do a radius and also how to do, point radius around points of interest. But you can also search by zip codes here, by CBSAs, so let's say I just really want Ann Arbor, so I want the Ann Arbor CBSA. You can just start to search like that, and you could see counties were coming up, things like that, as it was auto searching as well, auto filling really. So cool. So I want to go to Workspace, show you quickly about how to use that. So I've set up a few projects here already, a handful of them, and you can search by project. So let's say you have a big list and you just want to find your one that you did way back when for OOHO's Kitchen. So there it is. There's their fall winter campaign. Well, last year I guess they must have done Panera's they were targeting. This year they want to target Cracker Barrel, so they see that as more of a competitor. So I got rid of that tag, and so this is for Cracker Barrel. I don't know if I'm spelling right, but there we go, Cracker Barrel for now. Great. So let's say they did something similar. Let's say, you know what, I don't need that scenario anymore. Yes, I want to delete it. Okay, great. So let's say I want to add a scenario being like a campaign or something like that. So let's call this so this is my 2018 OOHO's Kitchen, we are in the Detroit DNA for the our top 3 restaurants. Okay, great. You can add even more of a specific, so they're conquesting Cracker Barrel loyalists. Great. So that's what they're doing. I want to save. Let me save that for now. So great. That's what we're calling it. So what's our audience? Well, remember I've already set up an audience, and you can even go back if you want to create a new audience. So this is where I was saying before, you can actually start your filtering and planning from the workspace right now. So you can actually call up an audience here, or I have my saved audiences already. Let me see, I had my Cracker Barrel past 30 days. Apply. I want that audience, and the market is Detroit. Great. And I want to add my inventory list here. So right now it's showing all the 4,000, so you can do it that way and just start to click units on and off, and you see that starts to changes by 1. But I also have that, or you can copy and paste in the list of IDs. I think I still have those coded there, so yeah, I could do that. Boom. There's those 11. Or you can even go back to that saved inventory set that we had. So OOHO's Kitchen. Let's see. That was the one, top 3, because that was the set targeting those top 3. So I have that, and you can see here how I mentioned earlier. Here's the area where you will start to see package level impressions, reach, frequency, etc. So again, more and more of that ADS and O-plan functionality is being added as we go along. And then also, I want those 3 places, those 3 locations to go along with it. So apply. So there are those 3 locations where their address is, and now we're all set. So I want to save this scenario. Great. As I go back to this project, it's all right here. And I guess I didn't add in a more detailed description, but you can see it's all right here. You could add a start date and end date for it as well. Let's see, do that, but you can start to actually get more of that information added into here as well. Cool. Let me go back. Project. And one other thing I want to show you, I think, before we leave, just checking in, Brian, any questions or anything from anybody? Okay, we'll come back in a second. There's just one thing I do want to be able to show you. So if you ever, I mentioned providing feedback. So if you ever run into something where you're having, it's not functioning the way you think it should, just click Contact Us, and you could submit some ideas. You can also let us know piece of unit that you're looking at, something that's wonky with the impressions or the audience, or also just any general issues that you run into. But also you can use this to find help and information. I mentioned if you want to understand what those icons mean, if you forget, click here, I hit icons and I hit search, boom, here they are, map, keys, symbols, iconography. It gives you information right here. But also you can pop it out and actually go to the support page, which is Geopath, support.geopath.io. But here's an article on what all the iconography means. But I want to show you two things here. So I clicked back to Geopath, this main support page, and I want to show you there's different audience measurements. So I talked about the prism segments and that there's more information. So I clicked on Geopath, audience measurements, and here I am. And if I want to look at the market segmentation, here's all the information. There's all 68 markets here, market segments here. I'm clicking on Big Sky families, and you get a quick overview. So they tend to be rural, with kids, college graduates, who are mostly homeowners, and have average technologies, median income of 80,000, almost 81,000, and household age range is about 35 to 54, and then gives a bit of information. Country music and team sports and outdoor activities are key for that. So we have that information for all of them. I also want to show you, if you want to know which audiences are currently available, it's still in that audience segment measurement area. So again, here's just a straight list of all of them. So these are all the political ones, political related ones. And then it goes into the different restaurants, so QSR, family sit down one. It also has a nice thing if you're looking for quintiles, so you want to target the heaviest, you want to target the lightest users of anything as well. There maybe is even another way, depending on the target, that's another way to look at inventory that targets those that don't do something. So if you're trying to look at the opposite side of it, and you can see there's a lot of brands here. And then as I continue to scroll down, you'll see all the population breaks that we have, as well as the auto-related. And again, I do apologize for not digging deep into the auto. I'll try to do that next time. But you can see here, shows type of vehicle owned, whether it's domestic, foreign, and kind of category. So large, luxury, sport, subcompact, etc. Kind of the model year of it, of ownership or lease, in number of repairs. So again, like I said, there's about 200 different attributes. Where did they get it? Where did they take it in for service? Was it AutoZone? Was it BJ's, Costco, etc.? So there's a couple of areas where you can find help and information. I always want to make one plug for we're putting together videos and one-pagers to help as well. So right now we've been able to put together all the fundamentals, so your basic media math as well. So here is an example of kind of one of the one-pagers, but then there's also an associated video that goes along with it. And they're all about 2 to 3 minutes to really help educate everybody. We know this is kind of perennially needed information. And as the tool gets more stable in terms of user interface, we'll start to create the videos that help with the training on how to use the tools. And I'm going to go back into the tool. And I think that is largely a lot of what I wanted to cover. So there's a question, I think, really around like creating heat maps, mapping audiences, so there's kind of chloroplast maps. And yes, that is definitely on the roadmap. And I don't believe it's the next release, but I believe it's the one after that. So within the next 2 to 4 weeks, should be able to do that. And I'm, for one, really excited about that. That's often, again, hopefully all of you know that we have our Geek Out request line. And that is often a request that we get, is to map out an audience for our members. So now those capabilities will be in the hands of our members, and I think it'll be really great and exciting for everyone to do that. So always, if you ever have a request, go to geekout@geopath.org and we can help you out. But I do want to just remind everybody, if you ever need support when you're in the tool, you can always click the feedback button. Also, one thing that happened in the last release is the help button went away. That's coming back. The help button will return in the next iteration. But for now, you can click the feedback button and also go directly to support.geopath.io. If you ever need help and want to go back to any of our old webinars, they're all listed on the Geek Out tab of our homepage as a screenshot. Oops, sorry. Just go to Geek Out on our website and scroll down to Out of Home Office Hours. You can see all the most recent ones are there. If you ever want to go to any of our older ones, just click where it says click here. That takes you right directly to our YouTube page as well. That has all of our videos. And just checking again, any other questions, Brian?
Nope, doesn't seem like it.
Okay, so as we're summing up, upcoming webinars, in November, we're doing our next set of update sessions, and they're always going to be, just for your scheduling purposes, they're always going to be the last Thursday and Friday of every month, unless there's some major holiday or anything like that. But Thanksgiving's early this year, so that's Thursday, November 29th from 2 to 3 p.m. The Thursday sessions are always from 2 to 3, and then the Friday sessions are always from 11 to 12. So just want to say thank you again to everybody. And again, if you do have a question after the call and you can think of it, just reach out to us at geekout@geopath.org. Otherwise, hope everybody has a great weekend. And we'll see you on the next session.